Chairman, sir, thank you very much. We've had a short duration discussion, but I think quite a lot of members, many of them have given us their valuable inputs on what they think of the white paper and its contents. So, giving a very brief introduction to my speech, my reply, not really getting into too much of a detail which is there in the white paper itself, because it's been laid in both the houses and I've given a fairly elaborate reply in Lok Sabha and also a fairly elaborate opening statement there, but I still would get into some details, but not too many. I understand the delay or the time that we need to conserve because you have one more discussion to take place. So the economy in 2014, which we inherited, there is a need for me to just explain that for a moment. It may suit the members of the opposition, at least some parties, particularly the Congress, to say the economy, we had left it in a prime shape, our growth rate was this per capita. And I can always have several members from our side who speak. After all, you inherited a very good economy from Atal Bihari Vajpayeeji's time, and maybe your first 5 years you tried benefiting the people with that good economy. But subsequently, and unfortunately after the global financial crisis, it was thorough mismanagement. All this can be said. Both sides can argue over them, but the fact is these are already sort of well analyzed, well written about, and they are out there in the public. It's not just for me to say it. We'll certainly say it because when we got the economy into 2014, when we inherited the economy, and soon after that, Honorable Prime Minister himself, a year later probably, went public to say, may not be the best time for me to get this out. He didn't at that time think whether he's going to come up with something later. But clearly the intention of why a white paper was not brought out was clearly stated by the Prime Minister himself. It would have certainly damaged the confidence the Indian citizens had in our own country, in its institutions, in the strength of its economy, in the strength of the institutions which have to serve the economy and so on. So he didn't want to shatter the confidence of the people. After all, they blessed him to come and serve the country. We all saw him evocatively bowing his head at the entrance of the parliament saying, I've come here as a servant of the people. I've come here to serve the country. There's no good crying afterwards saying, oh, the economy is really bad. I've come here, but I'm sorry. That wouldn't have been in the spirit of the things. So he very clearly said, I'm sorry, there is a lot of suggestion, but I'm not doing it in national interest, because if I put it all threadbare, it will affect the confidence of the institutions, the investors, and the people at large. So that has been explained. Now, why now? Because, as I said earlier, 10 years of toiling to get the economy back on its rail. And again, I'll bring in this parallel. We have operated in the last 10 years on two rails, like a railway rail which moves from one destination to another, on two rails. One, to correct the economy, remove the malpractices which had happened earlier, remove all those instruments which can be used as a weapon for rent seeking. So clear all those archaic laws and rules which have been there, make ease of doing business primary concern, and so on, equally looking at futuristic reforms which were so important. And I'm sure for all the respect that all of us have voiced, and I was glad to hear across party lines, we had had such a wonderful farewell given to Dr. Manmohan Singh. I'll join in it. But equally, it is important, whether it is post-1991 or after 2004, the 10 years, The promised reforms of the 1991 itself was not complete at that time. Subsequently, when there was an opportunity again between 2004 and 2014, no reforms. It's one thing to continuously tell us, what have you done, what have you done? The two-track approach, which is required for the train to go forward. One, which is going to remove the malpractices impact on the economy, and two, not only carry forward those pending reforms which have been waiting from 91, but also even further to take the economy forward. So that is the track which we laid for ourselves, and there we go. We have reached a stage where the economy can now say, we've reached fifth position, we'll reach the third in the coming years. And that is where I want to compare it. There is a proverb, sir, in Tamil, and I'm sure every one of our languages, which is very rich. Our languages are so rich in metaphor, rich in idiom, rich in the local context, and so on. In Tamil, there is a proverb, "Mullu meda potta thuni madri," meaning there is a bunch of thorny bushes, and in that a sari or a cloth falls. How would you extricate that cloth from it? You'll have to remove it from every thorn which is pricking on the cloth. And then to remove the cloth without any damage, how much of a delicate, literally toil will it be? So that the cloth comes out clean, the cloth comes out without getting torn, and then put it on an even keel. The economy was like that piece of cloth on a thorny bush. That thorn, the bush was full of all those malpractices which have torn into the economy. That is exactly how the economy was, and there is no exaggeration. This is very evocative, an example that, or a word, idiom that I'm using, but actually that was it, and that's what has gotten captured. Otherwise, why me, mullu peda putta thuni? What was the idiom, or what was the phrase which the whole world was using for us? Fragile five. That's not what I'm calling it. World called you like that at 2014. World called all of us. You're in an economy which is fragile. And if you're fragile, what is the level of fragility? From the bottom, you're within the first five. If that is the halat of the economy that Prime Minister Modi and this government inherited, did we sit watching, say, wondering how to sort it out? Straight away we got into action. That was why the first cabinet decision in 2014 was one to form an SIT to remove the black money. And second was an expenditure reform committee which was formed under Bimal Jalanji, just so that all the profligate expenditure of the earlier government could be rationalized, more systematic and answerable methods of doing governance will be put in place. Those were the first two decisions of this government, clearly stating the intent with which we are getting on the job of cleaning the economy and giving it new lease of life. And as a result, today I'm happy to say that we've reached where we have reached. And at this stage, as an elected government, we have every duty to inform the public of this country to these two august houses, Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, where people's representatives are seated, so that they know the true picture. What was it then? Comparable time. What is it now? And what effort it took for us to restore it. Mullu meda potta thuni. I repeat it. That mind picture about our economy and the way in which it had to be delicately removed from those thorny bushes. Do legislation. Do correction in the rules. Also make sure that you're giving enough incentives where it has to go in the right place. Savings by using technology. Not one thing, sir, and not at one level, sir. Across the board, at various levels, the economy had to be restored. So, today when we are bringing the white paper, it is because, as I said, we have brought the economy to a certain level, and that level gives us the confidence that we are able to now say within the next few years, and that is why Honorable Prime Minister keeps saying, in my third term, surely the economy will reach third rank. And this is not without reason. And above all, once again, why now? There should be a record for our posterity so that we know what happens when the intent and the governance is not transparent, when the intent is not good, when the transparency is not available in governance, what can happen to the economy, which should never be repeated. We need to have governance clean. We need to have governance which is accountable and not have governance which is through extra-constitutional bodies. So, as I said, in the Lok Sabha, I had spent some time explaining through various items which are part of the white paper, coal scam, how the banks went into a big mess and how that was brought back. I had explained it all. I do not want to spend too much time going into one more, or a third more, or fourth more in the list of items which we have mentioned in the white paper, but I'm talking about the overall project implementation and the speed with which these schemes were implemented. And that itself is one classic example of everybody was going about their own in the government. And Honorable Dr. Manmohan Singh was not able to get them all together to give that collective synergy. As a result, projects were delayed, project became meaning they were running into excess cost because delay in the projects, and that excess cost already being given, still the projects were not getting completed. Our honorable member from Assam spoke about how Bogibeel Bridge was sanctioned in 1997, if I know right. The member may correct me. It took all these years for it to get completed. Yeah, I'm conscious of that. I'm conscious of that. 10 full years after that, you couldn't correct it. Now, don't point a finger at Vajpayee. We've corrected it now. 10 full years. Vajpayee comment didn't do. You could have done it. So it's all right to go on interrupting to satisfy your bosses. But do have the patience to listen. All right? Yeah. Bosses, there will be some people reporting to your bosses, right? So you can correct me for everything which is factual if I'm not saying right. But don't go on weakening a person standing here to tear their guts out to speak to you after you have been patiently heard out. Sir, project implementation, sir. Aadhaar, direct benefit transfer, Jan Aushadhi Kendra, all of them they say it's ours, acknowledge us, we were the one to bring it in, and so on. Let me highlight just Jan Aushadhi Kendra. Middle class, the poor, all of them benefit when the medicines are available for lesser price. Branded medicines have become so expensive that they can't do it. Jan Aushadhi was started in 2008. Jan Aushadhi Kendras was started in 2008. Who denies it? It's theirs. But where was it? 2008 they started. 2014, only 80 Jan Aushadhi Kendra.
Welcome to K-Mall, a premium project by Kaleen Group. K-Mall is in the heart of Kolkata's electronic, garment and lifestyle hub, Khidirpur. K-Mall, which is designed as a world-class mall, is the outcome of endless effort of our experts, combined with modern superb techniques and new-age design. Book now